May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Please be seated. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. These words have to be some of the most beautiful poetry anywhere, no matter what the language. Even if you're not a philologist, a lover of words and language, or a poet, the sheer immensity of the idea just has to knock you back. And it's our gospel reading for today, so this passage from John is being read everywhere that the Revised Common Lectionary is used, which is all of North America and almost every English-speaking area anywhere. And even those churches that are non-lectionary traditions, like the Baptist Church, are probably reading this today just because it's very appropriate to our season, because we are at the beginning, right now in our liturgical year. Before I lose a bunch of you here, some of you may be worried that I'm going to talk about etymology and word history and what's lost in translation and other kinds of word nerd stuff. I promise you that this sermon will also feature camels, young love, prophecy, and strong women. So hang with me here. You don't know when these other things might come up, so you gotta stay with me. So preachers all over the continent are talking about translation today. That's just what we're doing. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And even though I love this language from the first chapter of John, I always hear it like a little bit of a puzzle. Because even a lover of language, a kind of a word nerd, as I truly confess I am, I tend to focus on the combination of letters it takes to spell a word, or the assortment of sounds that we speak in a word. Do they rhyme with other words, for example? Do they have the same sound as the first or the last letter? And another way of saying this is I think of words as carriers of meaning, rather than as the origin of all meaning itself. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So I tend to hear that as a bit of a puzzle. As you know, John's Gospel was originally written in Greek. And so the word comes to us originally as the word logos. And philosopher-blogger Justin Taylor explains that in ancient Greek, logos had many meanings, none as tight and defined as our English translation of word. The biblical logos meant something way bigger than a handful of letters or even a 50-cent worth of sounds. So even a big word, it meant more than that. Logos from the big biblical Greek refers to the power of reason, the natural order of things, and the principle of relation and harmony, which exists both in the natural fabric of the world and within the human mind. The idea of logos in a cosmic sense encompassed all these meanings and refers to the underlying order of the universe, which is the blueprint on which all life is based. In short, logos is meant to comprehend and contain the mind and order of God. The author of John's Gospel is saying that in the beginning with God was not a human or a fleshly man, but a harmony and natural order of everything. And not long ago, in the fall of 2018, renowned scholar David Bentley Hart published what a reviewer in the Atlantic magazine called a mind-bending translation of the New Testament. I know y'all are rocking in your seats hearing that. I can't wait to get my hands on that mind-bending translation. Hart called the translation of logos as the word a curiously bland and impenetrable designation for the heady concept expressed in the original Greek of the Gospels as logos. Wait, hold on, stay with me here. I promised you camels. Words matter. Translation matters. Both words and translation matter in our understanding of context and how Scripture is trying to speak to us, both in our time, here and now, and in our specific geographical and social location. And here's an example. And you know I love camels, right? So this one really means something to me. You remember the story in Genesis of Abraham. Abraham is old and on his deathbed, and he sends his servant out with 10 camels, loaded down with goods and treasures, to go find Isaac, his son, a wife. The servant, after traveling a great distance, parks the camels near a wellhead, and he prays to God that one of the daughters of the town will come out in the early evening, as they do, to fill their jugs with water, that he will ask her for a drink of water, that she will say, "Yes, here is water, and I will water your camels too." And, his prayers were really discursive, and that woman will be Isaac's wife. And then right on cue, Rebecca, one of the strong women of Scripture, shows up at the well with her jug. And here's why translation makes a difference here. Most English translations of the Hebrew Bible, as well as the New Testament, they try to make our English less choppy, more natural to our ears, as a way of kind of naturalizing the language, making it plain to us, helping to paraphrase or explain it. They don't clarify that these are empty camels. They're thirsty. So let's just stop and picture this. We have 10 empty camels kneeling down by the well, plus their thirsty driver, all waiting. And I won't go into it now, but parking a camel itself is a feat of engineering and patience and advocacy. I learned how to do it last year in Jerusalem. But this driver has them all kneeling. Camels are the perfect transport vehicles for the rocky, sandy, hilly terrain of the Holy Land, and they carry heavy and can carry heavy burdens for 2 full days without food or water. But when they're empty, they need to tank up, and they can drink 25 gallons of water apiece, and there are 10 of them. In smoothing out to us what feels like awkward or choppy language, most English translations not only don't clarify that these 10 camels are empty, but they also cut down on the repeated word "and," thinking that that's extra. Robert Alter, another translator's new translation of Genesis, delivers a whopping 15 repetitions of the word "and" from the original Hebrew, as written, which emphasizes the real work Rebecca is doing. That's fully 3 times more than any other English translation. The point here is it makes vivid this stunning act of hospitality in this strong woman, Rebecca. She shows up and she offers water to Abraham's servant and his 10 camels, and this is her effort to refresh her weary guest. Rebecca draws up the water, and through Alter's abundant string of 15 ands, we feel her muscles strain and ache as she draws up jug after jug of water to provide over 250 gallons of water to these 10 empty camels and to the driver, the servant. Translation matters. So back to the beginning now with the Word that was God. David Bentley Hart, the translator of John's Gospel I mentioned, he wasn't happy with Word, and he didn't like the way it translated the biblical Greek logos that's been used since the 16th century. So what did he do? He punted. He used the word logos, just the original Greek. He gives it to us in our Roman alphabet, transliterated, Logos. In the beginning there was logos, he translates, leaving us with all that meaning still packed up and tight in its original form. In this word translation, though, Hart gives us in his commentary some really useful ideas about what logos could be. In addition to all the things we talked about before, Hart argues the idea or suggests the idea that logos is the creative energy or activity of God. In David Brooks's recent book, The Second Mountain, he describes two phases of life that people experience. The first mountain we climb is all about preparation, learning how to do our jobs, be adults. My kids use that adult as a verb, so learn how to adult and support and raise a family. These are all good things, and they can give us happiness, but because we're focused on ourselves and our own preparation and education and support, we can become really separated from our community on the first mountain. We can lose our connection and our solidarity. And the second mountain we climb is different. People on the first mountain have lives that are mobile and lightly attached. People on the second mountain are deeply rooted, and they live in service to others. The second mountain life is a committed life. These people are not keeping their options open. People on the second mountain have made strong commitments to a vocation, to a spouse and family, a community, a philosophy or faith, or all of these things. Brooks describes the second mountain people as being deeply joyful, a joy that is born not of being footloose and fancy-free, but of being deeply committed to serving others. Second mountain people have fallen in love with something and then built a structure of behavior around it to help them through for when circumstances make that love difficult, like coming to church even when your schedule's full, or if you're tired, or the weather is bad. They are rooted in community, and that community supports them and gives them great joy. I can't help but think back to John's Gospel as I think of the second mountain we might climb. In the beginning, there was the Logos, which was the power of reason, the natural order of things, and the principle of relation and harmony, which exists both within the natural fabric of the universe and within the human mind. Or, as Hart commented alongside his new translation of the Gospel of John, the activity and creative energy of God, which exists both within the natural fabric of the universe and within the human mind. When we're deeply rooted, deeply committed in community, we stay connected. We're refreshed. We're joyful. We stay fully tanked up on the mind and order of God, like the 10 empty camels that Rebecca filled with her water jug. We stay ready to journey through rough terrain for days. As we prepare for our annual meeting January 19th, raising up new leadership, talking about the purpose of our mission and our goals in the church and our lives, and how we're allocating our resources, let's live into our rootedness in this community. Let's bring the joy I see and experience among you, working in the kitchen at Soups On dinners, fixing leaks in the roof, chatting with each other while folding service leaflets on Friday mornings, preparing the church for services, balancing our books, answering the phones, making signs, or making coffee. Let's stay rooted in the joy of people who are tapped into the Logos, the activity and creative energy of God, meaning that is not lost, but is found in translation.